Today, I wanted to talk about confusion and the experience of feeling confused. And I guess what occurred to me is a lot of times, especially when I was growing up, when I would try to learn something, I would get confused or in certain situations. And it was bad enough to feel confused. Um, but I realized that very often it was being confused in relation to a situation where I felt like I had to perform. So you know, it's okay to be confused when you don't have a deadline. I would say to put it most bluntly. Um, However, if you have an assignment and you're confused, now there's a element of danger or threat thrown in the mix. So for me, over time, it I associated the feeling of confusion with with danger, or maybe danger is too strong a word, but sort of high stakes, and so my nervous system would go on alert. Um, and I think that's a really tricky thing to notice at times. Um, when where I teach NLP, we always like to say that it's a powerful resource to get comfortable with not knowing. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. It's a really valuable thing to be able to get comfortable with the idea that you don't know something or you don't know it yet, or that you're confused. Um, I will say, however, that there are times and places where it doesn't seem like it's okay to not know, or it doesn't seem like it's okay to be confused. And I think that's why very often we can learn in our nervous system that, oh no, I don't know, I'm in danger, because I don't know the answer because I'm confused. So what I'd like to suggest is that when you notice one of these places, like I'm using confusion here, but this could apply to just about any emotion. Very often, the problem isn't necessarily that emotion, but it's that emotion in relation to the situation you're in. So if I need to get somewhere and I'm confused, or I need to get something done and I'm confused, in that situation, it's not okay, or it seems like it's not okay. So I'll get quite nervous. So um, one exercise that I've explored over the years that has really helped me is when I notice a situation like that, like, okay, this is a time when it's not okay to be confused. What I like to do later, when the pressure is off, is to give myself permission to experience that emotion. So in this case, we're talking about confusion. To find a time and a place when there is no demand, so that you can really just be in the experience of being confused, not knowing something, and really noticing what it's like for you. Noticing, okay, when I'm confused, what's happening in my thinking? What am I what am I picturing? What am I saying to myself? How am I picturing things? For me, confusion may feel like a maze or a tangle. For you, it's probably quite different. Everyone will have their own way of experiencing confusion. Or, sometimes for me, confusion is I'm walking down the street and I thought I was going one way, and then, oh, wait, maybe it's the other way. And so there's this moment of confusion. Which way am I going here? And it's really nice to explore an emotion that had been tied up with high stakes, and to explore it in an environment that's safe, that's comfortable, where there's no pressure. And what's been so powerful for me in allowing myself to, for example, explore confusion in the comfort of my own home, for example, is that it's allowed me to get insight in how to move through confusion, or to just be with it and get used to the feeling, so that it's no longer so threatening. It's like, oh, this is an emotion that I'm feeling in this moment, and in the next moment it might be a different emotion, might be understanding. um, I think it was Richard Bandler, one of the founders of NLP, who said that confusion is kind of the doorway to new understanding. And confusion really can be a wonderful state, because it does mean you're at a threshold of something new, perhaps, um, or you just haven't realized what something is yet. Um, so the way that I do this is, again, if I have an experience where an emotion didn't work for me, like let's say I get angry, there's no inherent problem with anger, but there could be a problem with anger in certain situations, or certainly expressing your anger in certain situations can be inappropriate. It may not, maybe you can't, shout at somebody at work. Um, and that's not something I'm going to question. What I'm going to suggest is then to take that emotion and find a context where you can allow yourself to feel it, and really uh, kind of indulge in it for a moment to the fullest extent, and see what it's like for you. See what it's like to give yourself permission to have that experience. Um, and I consider myself sort of a connoisseur of different emotions. Like, so we experience life through our emotions. So I don't want to push any away. I don't want to avoid them too long. um I may make a mental note and say, okay, this doesn't work in this context, but I will get to it later, and really get familiar with it. It's like exploring a new neighborhood, and learning where all the best spots are, and all the interesting things. um and the more you get familiar with it, the less threatening it can become. um I always check in. We've talked about doing an inventory of different experiences, so I'll check in on anything that I'm picturing, and again, how I'm picturing it. um, where is that experience in relation to my body? What sensations do I have? How does it show up in my body? What's going on in terms of internal dialogue or any sound that I'm experiencing? And really getting used to that configuration. Each emotion um, has a different setup to it. It's not every day that you just wake up uh, confused or angry or sad. Very often there's a setup that happens, or a story that we're telling ourselves that might um, bring us into that. And sometimes if you drop the story, you can also drop the emotion. Uh, so again, the way that I sort of get to this is when I experience an emotion that isn't working for me in some context, I make a note of it. And then later, I'll find a context where it's safe and comfortable to invite it. And I usually take a moment to center, and then I just invite it in a bit, so that I can have just a pure experience of it, and begin to sort of map it and take an inventory of it. Um, and then I let it go, and I move on with my day and get on to something else.